Special Envoy Hans Grunberg makes first trip to Sana'a to discuss with Houthis truce implementation. The Yemeni government urged the international community to act immediately and lift the siege on Taiz city. The United Nations says the conflict in Yemen has displaced thousands of civilians across the country. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Rana Swalem. The UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Hans Grunberg, arrived today in Sana'a and looking forward to discuss with Houthi rebels the implementation of the truce and the situation in Yemen. More details are in the following report.
Hans Grunberg, the United Nations Special Envoy for Yemen, arrived in Sana'a on Monday for the first time since taking office 8 months ago to hold talks with the Houthi rebels. His office said he arrived with the goal of engaging with the Houthis in implementing and strengthening a 60-day ceasefire in the war-torn country. The 2-month ceasefire, which went into effect on April 2, was Yemen's first nationwide ceasefire in 6 years, following the outbreak of war in Yemen in 2014. Escalating military action in Yemen has left the Arab world's poorest nation facing growing hunger and economic collapse. The UN describes the situation as the world's worst humanitarian crisis and a man-made famine. The conflict has displaced nearly 4 million Yemenis, and about 2/3 of the country's estimated population of more than 30 million are in urgent need of some form of aid. 14 million Yemenis are severely food insecure, and 12 million depend on aid to survive, according to the UN. The economic and humanitarian crises have largely cast a shadow over the lives of the population, with a large segment of the population affected who lost their sources of income due to the interruption of interests, institutions, and companies in the public and private sectors. Grunberg's visit to Sana'a was his first to the rebel-held capital since his appointment in August, when the Houthis refused to accept him. He has met with the chief Houthi negotiator several times in Muscat, in Oman's capital, most recently on Sunday. Grunberg also met with the Omani foreign minister before leaving Muscat to Sana'a. The visit came as the 2-month truce entered its second week, with reports of violations, particularly around the central city of Ma'rib. Last week, the UN envoy urged the warring sides to uphold the truce. In addition, the UN announced truce also includes allowing shipments of fuel to arrive in Hodeidah and for passenger flights to resume from the airport in Sana'a. The UN envoy said he has invited both sides to arrange a meeting to agree on reopening of roads around the province of Taiz and other provinces as part of the truce. The war in Yemen has left millions suffering from food and medical shortages. Yemen continues to be the world's worst humanitarian crisis. And more than anything, Yemenis need peace.
The Houthi militia said it had informed the UN envoy Hans Grunberg, who arrived earlier in Sana'a, of its readiness to implement a prisoner swap agreement reached with the government on March 21st. The agreement includes the release of 1,400 fighters from the militia in exchange for 823 from the government, including 16 Saudis and 3 Sudanese. After failing to storm the center of Taiz since 2015, the Houthis have positioned themselves on the city's outskirts, targeting densely populated residential areas with heavy weapons. The government official demanded the UN to call on Houthis to lift their siege on Taiz city. More details are in the following report.
The Houthi rebels have been trying to enter the center of the western city of Taiz, but have repeatedly failed. In consequence, heavy fighting between government troops and Houthi militia has broken out in Taiz during the last period. Government troops intensified attacks on Iran-backed Houthis occupying the western and eastern edges of the city after the militia stepped up mortar fire on residential areas in the city's downtown. After failing to storm the center of Taiz since 2015, the Houthis have positioned themselves on the city's outskirts, targeting densely populated areas with heavy weapons. Essential food and humanitarian supplies have also been blocked from reaching the besieged population. The Houthi siege has forced residents to use rough and dangerous mountain routes to leave or enter the city. Taiz overlooks Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the international waterway which connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden. The city, however, suffers from economic, social, and educational negligence. Economic decline has driven citizens to protest the absence of basic commodities, while the shops are almost empty. Taiz roads are closed after sunset, and a line of fire is formed instead. If travelers are late, they are forced to go through an even more rugged and dangerous roads.
A senior Yemeni official revealed that preparations are underway for the return of all members of the Presidential Leadership Council, the government, and parliament to Yemen. Members within the PLC spoke of an agreement on the decision to return the government and the Presidential Council to work in deliberated governorates and closely monitor the developments on the ground. He explained that all Yemenis are betting on the PLC, noting that the process of smooth transition of power established a new stage in the history of Yemen. United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator in Yemen, David Gressley, discussed with Emirati officials solving the safer oil tanker crisis. This came during his tour in the Arab Gulf states to discuss UN-coordinated plan to address the threat of a major oil spill from the safer tanker. The military media in the western coast monitored more than 17 violations of the truce committed by the Houthi militia in the governorates of Taiz and Hodeidah. Houthi violations included infiltration attempts and targeting of government positions. More details are in the following report.
Ma'rib remains the primary target for the Houthis' unwavering military strikes, despite the terms of the armistice proposed by the UN envoy blatantly prohibiting clashes during the month of Ramadan. Government forces have documented 15 violations by the Houthi militia thus far, carried out across Ma'rib's fronts.
It has been days, and the Houthi militia has been waging attacks on government forces on southern fronts. The militia doesn't believe in peace. It only believes in violence. They haven't abided by any truce or peace settlement agreement since 2014. They want only to seize Marib. During the past 3 days, the Houthi militia has been attempting to strike government troop sites in Marib. We are stationed at the observatory. They are on in their advances. Their fate will be similar to those who came before them. I believe this conflict could only be solved through military action.
In complete violation of the truce's terms, the Houthi militia continues to hold Ma'rib hostage to its military escalations and disobliging political stance. Citizens remain wary of what the upcoming days have to bring, unsure if they'll achieve the peace they've awaited for 7 long years.
The Houthi militia launched a campaign of mass detention against citizens in Al-Mahwit, northwest of Yemen. Local sources said the Houthi militia launched a campaign of arrests that targeted more than 30 people under the pretext of communicating with the coalition. The displaced people in Yemen are living in terrible conditions. They lack the most basic requirements for living. Nevertheless, the displaced people are still waiting for relief aid that almost doesn't exist. On the other hand, relief materials are spread in the black market in Ma'rib, and citizens are buying them because their prices are low. More details are in the following report.
The war brought many worries, suffering, and tragedies that cast a shadow over all the people of Yemen. This suffering would be greater with the lives of Yemenis who were displaced by the war from their areas, to live a harsh life whose suffering does not end, no matter how many days or years pass. New displacement is exacerbating the existing humanitarian needs, drastically increasing the need for shelter, essential household items, water and sanitation, education and protection services, especially for children. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, around 30,000 Yemeni civilians have been displaced from their houses. In war-torn Yemen during the last 3 months. In a press release, UNHCR mentioned the brand new determinant is added to 4.3 million already displaced in Yemen, attributable to preventing throughout the nation. Sturdy peace and stability in Yemen would allow UNHCR and companions to work on sturdy options. Earlier this month, UN envoy to Yemen Hans Grunberg managed to strike a 2-month truce between Houthi rebels and the Yemeni authorities in an effort to finish the 8-year battle within the Arab nation. Yemen has been engulfed by violence and instability since 2014, when Iran-aligned Houthi rebels captured a lot of the nation together with the capital Sana'a. A Saudi-led coalition which seeks to reinstate the Yemeni authorities has worsened the scenario, inflicting one of many world's worst man-made humanitarian crises. Almost 80%, or about 30 million individuals, are in need of humanitarian help and safety, and greater than 13 million are in severe hunger and poverty based on UN estimates. The war in Yemen has killed tens of thousands and caused what the United Nations describes as the world's largest humanitarian crisis. The suffering of the displaced is exacerbated and their numbers multiplied again and again. With the passing years, solutions are surrounded by papers. Perhaps one day will carry an implementation and reflection in reality, so that the displaced people can live a normal life. Millions of displaced Yemenis are living in unimaginable conditions, looking forward to a life with more safety and stability, so that they may heal their wounds and tragedies that the war of the Houthi militia gave them. Millions of displaced Yemenis are living in unimaginable conditions, looking forward to a life with more safety and stability, so that they may heal their wounds and tragedies that the war of the Houthi militia gave them.
Coming next. Soaring prices and hard living conditions that plague Yemenis during Ramadan.
رمضان قبل الحرب كان الحمد لله، ورمضان الحالي من الحرب وما طلع واحنا بالتعس ولا والمتاعب.
فرق كبير، فرق بالأسعار، فرق بالحالة النفسية بين الأسر، الفرق بين الأشياء التي كانت نحن نقدر نستطيع نشتريها الآن.
هي الوجبة المفضلة كانت الشفوت، لكن لو قلت أن ما زالت موجودة لا.
الوجبات هذه معافش وجبات عين رسمية. المواطن الآن معاه يتحمس وجبة رسمية، اللي هله يستخدموه، الأكل أي أكل يأكلوه.
عاد من الشهر السابق كنت أقدر يعني أشتري قطمة 10 كيلو 5 كيلو، أما من دحين الأسعار ارتفعت يعني ما أقدرش أشتري، يا الله أشتري نص كيلو.
الأسعار فوارق، يعني كأنه تدريجيا حق 10 سنوات، حق 10 سنوات بحصله بشهرين، يعني فوارق خيالية.
صرنا الغذائية تفرق كل شيء، تفرق همنا، تفرق كل حاجة علينا، نستفيد منه كل شيء.
Welcome back. The World Food Programme said the high prices of basic foodstuff in Yemen as a result of the repercussions of the Ukraine war are pushing millions of Yemenis to starvation. Millions of Yemenis fast in Ramadan in light of the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. More details are in the following report.
People in Maghreb are seeking every way to avoid merchants' greed, especially during the holy month of Ramadan. High prices are shocking them on every occasion, and it became a barrier that prevents them from getting their essentials. Anger signs appear on their faces while they argue about the prices with merchants, and it usually ends with citizens' depression as they go back to their families with little to purchase. Insane rise in prices of food, clothing, and other commercial goods increases burdens on the citizen.
We were waiting for the holy month in hope that prices will be reduced, but we were shocked that the people are still suffering high prices. Maghreb has a high density in population. People here are coming from several governorates. All these circumstances are affecting the citizen. We call for Maghreb governor to put an end to this tragedy.
Mohammed al-Jadasi is one of the shoppers who find a huge gap between his purchase power and the prices, as today's prices could differ from tomorrow's prices. El-Jadasi was content with basic essentials after he wandered between a lot of stores in the market and he disposed of the luxuries list, which fits his potential.
Prices in Maghreb have witnessed insane rise, especially during the blessed month. People expected a reduction in prices. However, unfortunately, we were facing high prices and we are lacking censorship, which gives a chance for merchants to be more greedy. Furthermore, families' income is little compared to prices, so people in Maghreb are in a critical situation, especially the displaced people. Every day we are facing high prices. At least it should be constant, as the prices are rising and the citizen is suffering.
People are fighting their own battles with the prices and Ramadan's basic requirements. It became harder on the family head because he is trying hard to make the essentials available for his family. Thousands of families can't afford one meal, and aid reduction has worsened the situation even more.
Ramadan is a month of blessings. Yemeni people are accustomed to organize group breakfast meals in which different people are invited. In Mecca, these group meals are a distinct character in the city. The following report has more details.
Citizens in Yemen are keen on preparing Ramadan iftar tables for those who are fasting, whether the residents or visitors from other cities during the holy month of Ramadan. Despite the difficult economic situation, they continue to serve these meals as part of an inherited tradition that aims to fulfill their religious duties. People gather at the tables before breakfast time, as they do not require daily invites to visit these Ramadan tables, and organizers are content to lead them once at the start of the holy month. The story behind these iftar tables can be traced back to the moral value that lies in breaking people's fast at sunset. According to a hadith by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, whoever gives food to a person to break their fast will have a reward like theirs. Hence, Muslims vie for the role that has been passed down through generations.
Our habit of hosting iftar tables has been passed down to us from our ancestors, and we hope our children will continue the virtuous cycle.
Ramadan is not only a month of repentance, love, and purification of souls from grudges, but it is also an annual opportunity to exchange pleasantries and fortify relations with people.
We set up these tables for people who are coming in from other governorates or for residents who cannot find food or lodging. Yemenis will continue to uphold this generous tradition.
These iftar tables are open to the public and anyone can join the feast. Ramadan is a ripe time for people to practice kindness to one another, whether through feeding hungry mouths or through lending a helping hand.
In Sayoun, in Hadramaut, UNICEF supported a program to enhance the abilities of the teachers in Yemen. The program will support the training of 100 teachers who will be able to provide psychosocial support to traumatized students. Yemen faces difficult long-term challenges to stabilize and grow its economy, and the current conflict has only exacerbated those issues. The Yemeni rial is facing fluctuations despite foreign aid and funding. More details are in the following report.
The Yemeni rial suffered a new loss against foreign currencies a day after its recovery. Banking sources in Iran confirmed that the rial lost again against foreign currencies after the value of buying $1 rose with Monday evening to 948 rials and the Saudi rial to 249. A few days ago, with Abu Dhabi and Riyadh announcing $2 billion in support for the Yemeni economy in equal measures, in addition to a $3 billion provided by Saudi Arabia to support oil and other derivative services, the value of buying the US dollar suddenly fell in Iran and the liberated Yemeni areas from 1,050 rials to 760 rials. The decline coincided with a similar decline in Sana'a, which is under the control of the Houthi militia. Economists attributed this decline to exchange companies' anticipation for large losses after they controlled during the last 3 years the banking sector with the increase in the number of unauthorized persons in various parts of the country. Experts added that these companies avoided losses behind the devaluation of the foreign currencies for the purpose of withdrawing the largest amount of liquidity from citizens and preserved their cash by selling the currencies to them at a high price. Experts said supporting the central bank with $2 billion isn't the final solution and should be accompanied by comprehensive reforms that include drying up the sources of corruption in the bank and the government alike, and regulating the revenue base of oil and gas exports and other wealth, including port and airport tax revenues. As a result of the deterioration of the value of the Yemeni rial, prices of various commodities rose and the situation worsened amid international warnings of a famine that threatens millions of Yemenis.
Here's a reminder of the many headlines. Special Envoy Hans Grunberg makes first trip to Sana'a to discuss with Houthis truce implementation. The Yemeni government urged the international community to act immediately and lift the siege on Taiz city. The United Nations says the conflict in Yemen has displaced thousands of civilians across the country. This is the end of the news. For more, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Yemen Today English. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.